am joined right now by an artist that can tell me more about this. This is an artist that I interviewed this time last year.
I know.
On the other side of Joburg.
Yes.
I spoke to you because I'm a big fan of your music.
Thank you.
And when they told me, like, Msizi and Bulele have commitments and they can't make the show, would you make the show? And I was like, why? What's happening on the show? Apart from the chart, which I love. And they were like, oh yeah, and there's an interview, you're going to be speaking to Pilani Bubu. I said, oh, I'll cancel everything I'm doing because I love Pilani Bubu. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yeah, it's been a while and a lot has happened since I last saw you.
Listen, the last time I saw you, you were busy, I think, working on a festival. Or
I was, and we launched the festival last year.
Yes.
We did a second edition this year, the Folklore Festival.
Yes.
And it celebrates community arts, culture.
Yes.
Mostly on Heritage Month. And we try bring in contemporary folk artists, indigenous folk artists, and try to kind of bring our culture and identity forward. Very Pan-African as well. We bring in artists from across the continent. So, yeah, we did it. We did it again. Well, hopefully we're going to do it again.
Listen, you were really excited because you had artists from other parts of Africa coming in. The plan with Folklore too, because I know that it was also accompanied by an album.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So the album I didn't release last year, but I did travel to showcase the album, which is where SAMPRA came in. As soon as I finished with the festival in October, I also went to the WOMAX, the World Music Expo, and I was one of the only South Africans showing there. And it's an expo that celebrates world music, which is basically music of origin from that place, all kinds of spectrums of it, African fusion, all basically what they call world music. And so I decided to hold off the album until I lined up my ducks. And now we are releasing the album.
Now the ducks are in a row.
The ducks are in a row. So what you played as Abandona, the version that took out last year, that was on that Netflix series, that's one of the first singles we took out, Abandona. And Tafeli Banzi, what you played earlier, is the second single that's come out.
I want to talk about that because you've always made sure that people understand that you think it's very important to capture and almost make immortalize our languages and music.
Right.
You worked with Monet, who's brilliant. Absolutely love him. But how important is it to work with other artists that don't speak the language that you speak?
Right. Well, I do love language, as you mentioned, and more than anything, it's kind of how sacred, how deep and rich and meaningful it is. So I speak a number of languages myself. Like I write in Tswana. I said to Monet one day when I can speak Sevenda, like you don't understand.
I'm coming for you.
I'm going to be writing with you, darling. So like the project also features Leomile in a song where I wrote in Sesotho and she wrote in Sesotho. So I think it's important. Language is a way in which to deepen a message. Two, I think that we in the music industry can archive language and words. Like when I listen, like say for instance to Mandisi Jankisi use his words, I'm like, yay, this word in Zulu, but the way that it is said, it reminds me to pick up on the word, add it to my vocabulary and do that. And I think that the next generation needs that. We haven't changed much in the schooling system by way of enforcing whatever language because we don't actually have one universal, but I think we can achieve some kind of like linguistic lessons in the music.
Now, I was talking about SAMPRA now, and maybe someone's listening and they're a young artist and they're like, I've heard about this word. What's something that you learned very early on in your career that made you a better artist before we get to what SAMPRA is and what it's done for your career? But something that you learned as a new artist when you were coming in and you were like, I wish someone had told me this.
I think so. Look, I always knew that paperwork was very important. But one of the things that come up that you will work through experience and collaboration is this rights issue. The differences between a master right or that particular sound recording versus your copyright, right? And quite often a lot of artists will go into battle trying to do the split sheets and just separating those two things. So they'll be fighting, but they don't know what they're fighting for. Instead, it's like, well, in this particular sound recording for this particular master, which generally goes to the label, for independent artists, we can split depending on who's going to promote the project the most. Just learning to stand up for like, well, I'm going to be on tour, I'm going to be singing it, and I'm going to promote the most, and I'm probably going to back it. Sometimes it's that battle between producers. So learning the difference between the master rights and like my copyright. So going, you do get your copyright 100%. Take 50% of composer, I'll take 50% of author. That was one thing. The second thing is that actually I came late into the SAMPRA game. It took during lockdown when people were really collecting their royalties, because sometimes you let the stuff sit, and RJ Benjamin, who I worked with on my first EP, came to me and said, P, you haven't registered this project on SAMPRA, and I'm trying to collect my stuff. And that's when I had to do a backlog, and and I had to register all my stuff. And yeah, I came to that later, and like, geez, nobody told me about all the rights.
Okay, so now you mentioned like RJ, you've worked with other people and they come to you and they're like, I'm not getting money for this music that we worked on. I'm a new artist, or I'm thinking about even getting into the game.
Yeah.
How would you describe SAMPRA to someone who actually really doesn't know what it is?
I would say SAMPRA, outside of like a SAMPRA, which deals with mechanical royalties and performance, and Capasso that deals with like digital, and SAMPRA is more like, I feel like it covers everyone on a project, because you can claim as non-featured and featured. A featured is kind of like main, and potential is the main artist. A non-featured artist is a producer, anyone who walks into the room and plays guitar, cowbell, or whatever you do performing on that project, backing vocals. And I think it's very empowering. That's the one thing I would say about SAMPRA that covers the needle time. It's just like, have you performed on that record? Then you have the opportunity to basically collect royalties with SAMPRA. And so I think it's kind of inclusive outside of the people who lead the narrative of copywriting, which is generally songwriters and lyricists. This is the space where everyone who's passionate about music and hasn't yet, recorded them their own or written their own stuff can at least, go to SAMPRA. And also, here's the thing that was of benefit when RJ came into my life, is that then when I had collected my royalties, you just need to have a minimum of 3,000. Took me 5 years to register. I actually then been able to kind of apply for grant funding, because they're an organization that understands what we're doing. And I've sort of done live events funding. They've given me sponsorship for my folklore festival. I've done touring with them, 2 touring grants with them. Do you see? So I wish I'd known
so many
earlier.
other benefits outside of the needle time.
Do you know that I almost quit music because I didn't have the budget to finish my projects? And it made me start thinking, because like the thing is, when you're faced with creativity and a product and something you got to put out, you feel anxious because there's something undone. It's like you can't die, you can't move, you got to be safe. Like you literally have these ideas in your mind, and I was stuck. And so I really feel that had I known earlier about how these platforms actually support us, that it would have been great.
Pilani Bubu is with me in studio. We're going to be performing a couple of songs. I'm really hoping that I can hear some faves of mine. Right here on Night Pulse. In for Bulele and MCZ, it's Mantsoe Pout.
Single from Folklore Chapter 2, and it's about intergenerational dialogue and having the kids play close to home so they can learn from the past in order to protect themselves in the future, or to undo certain traumas. And then Umthombo is really a dedication to my grandfather, and kind of saying, he named me Pilani, and I am his wildest dreams. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. So I drink Selam Danam from the visions, the hopes, and the dreams that our ancestors had for us.
Ladies and gents, Pilani Bubu.
Bangadlalele kude badlalele ekhaya bahlatywe ngameva kokwabo bazawubhadla beve ngendlebe zabantu abadala ngendlela zasekhaya ngendlela zangasemva nendlela zakudala abantwana mabangadlalele kude badlalele ekhaya bahlatywe ngamatye kokwabo kuze bafunde ukuzikhusela kwindlela zangaphambili nendlela zangasemva nendlela zakudala kuze baphile. Silvele nyane nenkululeko yomntomnyama sidlala singalelanga ngalengoma silwele sidima sethu sithi asifumi sizawuxhensa sinqeshe sithi hayi asifuni sizotshaya imfene mntam siqhube phambili sizawubhala indlela zethu ngalo nyawo lwethu sizofunda ngalo olunyawo
Lomdom dala sizofunda kuye kuba oya sizala oya sizala oya sizala oya sizala oya sizala.
Keenan Arons on guitar.
Selam tanam, 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 selam tanam.
Come on. Thank you so much. Launching her album soon. Okay.
30th November at
Okay.
Universal Music Concert Hall.
Okay.
That's in Rosebank, hosted by the Alliance Française and in Varoche. And then I'm launching in Cape Town on the 16th of November on my
Nice.
dad's birthday,
Oh.
who fundamentally accelerated the project because it happened during his loss over COVID-19.
Sorry about that.
And so you need ways to kind of divine with your, your loved ones. And so that's on the 16th of November at Selective Live. That's at 189 Buitengracht Street in Cape Town Gardens.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Good to
coming
see
through.
you.
Listen, we'll do it again next year.
Please.
Seeing as every year you and I touch base on the radio.
1000%.
Keenan, you're amazing. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Keenan.